Shrimane.
Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satya Vachai Namo Namaha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Happy Janmashtami, everybody. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopinana Manaba Kiri Baladahudi Gopinana Manaba Kiri Baladahudi Yasunanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasunanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Te Brahmana Chari Yamuna Te Ravana Chauti Jai Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihare Jai Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihare Gopi Dana Baba Giri Bharadhauti Gopi Jana Madhava Giri Bharadhauti Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachalote Yamuna Tera Madhachari Jayaran Madhuva Kunya Bihati Jayaran Madhuva Kunya Bihari Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya. Also tell us that the Shimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Vedas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Mathuram Ki Jai. Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai. Yamunamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bom. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarane. So today we are going to start today's class by reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 1st chapter, text 4, which in one sense is like a nutshell verse for the whole 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nivritta Tarshar Upagiyamanad Vavoshadach Shrotra Mano Viramat Ka Uttama Shloka Gunanuvadat Puman Virajeta Vina Pashugnat Nivrittatar Sharupagiyamanad Vaval Shudat Shrotra Manobiramat Gautama Shloka Gunanuvadat Puman Virajeta Pina Pashugnat Nivrittatar Sharupagiyamanad Vavoshadat Shrotra Manobiramat Gautama Shloka Gunanuvadat Puman Virajeta Pina Pashugnat Nivrittatar Sharupagiyamanad Vavoshadat Shrotra Manobiramat Gautama Shloka Gunanuvadat Puman Virajeta Pina Pashugnat. Okay. All right. Nivritta, released from. Tarchahi, lust or material activities. Upagiyamanat, which is described or sung. Mava Oshadat, which is the right medicine for the material disease. Shrotra, the process of oral reception. Mana, the subject matter of thought for the mind. Abhiramat, from the pleasing vibrations from such glorification. Ka, Who? Uttama Shloka of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Guna Anuvadat, from describing such activities. Human, a person. Virajeta, can keep himself aloof. Vina, except. Pashugnat, either a butcher or one who is killing his own personal existence. So, translation. Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the parampara system, that is, it is conveyed from spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false, temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? So you can repeat. Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord, except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? So, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In India, it is the practice among the general populace to hear about Krishna, either from Bhagavad Gita or from Srimad Bhagavatam, in order to gain relief from the disease of repeated birth and death. Although India is now fallen, when there is a message that someone will speak about Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, thousands of people still gather to hear. This verse indicates, however, that such recitation of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam must be done by persons completely freed from material desires. Nivritta Tarshai. Everyone within this material world, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, is full of material desires for sense enjoyment, and everyone is busy in sense gratification. But when thus engaged, one cannot fully understand the value of Krishna Katha, either in the form of Bhagavad Gita or in Srimad Bhagavatam. If we hear the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from liberated persons, this hearing will certainly free us from the bondage of material activities. But hearing Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by a professional reciter cannot actually help us achieve liberation. Krishna Katha is very simple. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he himself explains, Matak parataram nanyat kinchirasti dhananjaya. O Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Bhagavad Gita 7:7. Simply by understanding this fact that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can become a liberated person. But especially in this age, because people are interested in hearing Bhagavad Gita from unscrupulous persons who depart from the simple presentation of Bhagavad Gita and distort it for their personal satisfaction, they fail to derive the real benefit. There are big scholars, politicians, philosophers, and scientists who speak on Bhagavad Gita in their own polluted way. Okay. And the people in general hear from them, being uninterested in hearing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from a devotee. A devotee is one who has no other motive for reciting Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam than to serve the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore advised us to hear the glories of the Lord from a realized person. Bhagavata Parodiya Bhagavata Stane. Unless one is personally a realized soul in the science of Krishna consciousness, a neophyte should not approach him to hear about the Lord, for this is strictly forbidden by Sanatana Goswami, who quotes from the Padma Purana. Avaishnava mukodgirnam putam harikatam ritam shavanam noiva kartavyam sarpochishtang yatha vaya. One should avoid hearing from a person not situated in Vaishnava behavior. A Vaishnava is Nivritta Trishna. That is, he has no material purpose, for his only purpose is to preach Krishna consciousness. So-called scholars, philosophers, and politicians exploit the importance of Bhagavad Gita by distorting its meaning for their own purposes. Therefore, this verse warns that Krishna Katha should be recited by a person who is Nivritta Trishna. Shukadev Goswami epitomizes the proper reciter for Srimad Bhagavatam, and Parikshit Maharaj, who purposefully left his kingdom and family prior to meeting death, epitomizes the person fit to hear it. A qualified reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam gives the right medicine, Bhavoshati, for the conditioned souls. This Krishna consciousness movement, or the Krishna consciousness movement, is therefore trying to train qualified preachers to recite Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita throughout the entire world, so that people in general in all parts of the world may take advantage of this movement and thus be relieved of the threefold miseries of material existence. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita and the descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam are so pleasing that almost anyone suffering from the threefold miseries of material existence will desire to hear the glories of the Lord from these books and thus benefit on the path of liberation. Two classes of men, however, will never be interested in hearing the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam: those who are determined to commit suicide and those determined to kill cows and other animals for the satisfaction of their own tongues. Although such persons may make a show of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam at a Bhagavat Saptaha, this is but another creation of the karmis, who cannot derive any benefit from such a performance. The word pashugnat is important in this connection. Very well. Pashugna means butcher. Talking back there. Persons fond of performing ritualistic ceremonies for elevation to the higher planetary systems must offer sacrifices, yajnas, by killing animals. Lord Buddha Dev therefore rejected the authority of the Vedas because his mission was to stop animal sacrifices which are recommended in Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Nindasi yagya videraha shruti jatam sudaya hridaya dashita pashugatam keshavadrita buddha sharira jaya jagadisha hate. It's from the Gita Govinda. Even though animal sacrifices are sanctioned in Vedic ceremonies, men who kill animals for such ceremonies are considered butchers. Butchers cannot be interested in Krishna consciousness, for they are already materially allured. Their only interest lies in developing temporary comforts for the temporary body. Bhogashvaya prasaktanam taya parita chitasam Vyavasayatmika buddhi samadho na vitiyate. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination of devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. That's from the Bhagavad Gita 2:44. Srila Naradamadas Thakur says, Manusha Janma Paya, Radhakrishna Na Bhajya, Janya Shunya Visha Koinu. Anyone who is not Krishna conscious and who therefore does not engage in the service of the Lord is also Pashugna, for he is willingly drinking poison. Such a person cannot be interested in Krishna Katha because he still has a desire for material sense gratification. He is not Nivritta Trishna. As it is said, Traivagi Kas Te Purusha Vimo Ka Hari Medasa. Those who are interested in Trivarga, that is, in Dharma, Artha, and Kama, are religious for the sake of achieving a material position with which to gain better facilities for sense gratification. Such persons are killing themselves by willingly keeping themselves in the cycle of birth and death. They cannot be interested in Krishna consciousness. For Krishna Katha, topics about Krishna consciousness, there must be a speaker and a hearer, both of whom can be interested in Krishna consciousness if they are no longer interested in material topics. One can actually see how this attitude automatically develops in persons who are Krishna conscious. Although the devotees of the Krishna conscious movement are quite young men, who used to be, they no longer read materialistic newspapers, magazines, and so on. Probably just watch CNN instead. For they are no longer interested in such topics, nivritta tarshai. They completely give up the bodily understanding of life for topics concerning Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual master speaks and the disciple hears with attention. Unless both of them are free from material desires, they cannot be interested in topics of Krishna consciousness. The spiritual master and disciple do not need to understand anything more than Krishna, because simply by understanding Krishna and talking about Krishna, one becomes a perfectly learned person. Yasmin vigate sarvam evam vigatam bhavati. That's from the Mundaka Upanishad 1:3. The Lord sits within everyone's heart, and by the grace of the Lord, the devotee receives instructions directly from the Lord himself, who says in the Bhagavad Gita, the 15th chapter, text 15, Savrasha chaham hridiyastana vishtak bhaktak smritir jnanamapohanam cha vedaishta savar hamaiva vedyo vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Krishna consciousness is so exalted that one who is perfectly situated in Krishna consciousness, under the direction of the spiritual master, is fully satisfied by reading Krishna Katha, as found in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar Vedic literatures. Since merely talking about Krishna is so pleasing, we can simply imagine how pleasing it is to render service to Krishna. When discourses on Krishna Katha take place between a liberated spiritual master and his disciple, others also sometimes take advantage of hearing these topics and also benefit. These topics are medicine to stop the repetition of birth and death. The cycle of repeated birth and death by which one takes on different bodies again and again is called bhava, or bhava roga. If anyone willingly or unwillingly hears Krishna Katha, his bhava roga, the disease of birth and death, will certainly stop. Therefore, Krishna Katha is called bhavo-shuddha, the remedy to stop the repetition of birth and death. Karmis, or persons attached to material sense enjoyment, generally cannot give up their material desires, but Krishna Katha is such a potent medicine that if one is induced to hear Krishna Kirtan, he will certainly be freed from this disease. A practical example is Dhruva Maharaj, who at the end of his tapasya was fully satisfied. When the Lord wanted to give Dhruva a benediction, Dhruva refused it. Swaman kritartos me varam nayache. That's from the Majjhilila 22:42. My dear Lord, he said, I am fully satisfied. I do not ask for any benediction for material sense gratification. We actually see that even young boys and girls in the Krishna conscious movement had given up their long practice of bad habits like illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Because Krishna consciousness is so potent that it gives them full satisfaction, they are no longer interested in material sense gratification. So, Om Gana Timirandasha Gananjana Shlakya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I thought it was appropriate. We hear from Srila Prabhupada first about the principle of hearing Krishna Katha. And of course, Krishna Katha is non-different from Krishna. Krishna's name is non-different from Krishna. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Purna Shira Nitya Mukto. Vinatwam Namanamino. This is a wonderful description. The name of Krishna, Krishna Katha, is it is complete, it is pure, it is ever liberated, and when one hears it, one is associating with Krishna. And of course, Prabhupada would often say that hearing is more important than seeing. So the sound vibration, also described by Lord Kapiladev, one of my favorite verses, Satam prasangan mama virya sampado bhavanti vritkarna rasayana kata tajoshanadashu apavarga vartmani shradavratir vakti anukramishati. That the sound vibration heard from a pure devotee. It's so nice to repeat Prabhupada's words, actually. Satam prasangan, in the association of devotees. Actually, it's more potent to hear in the association of devotees. Just like I've experienced when I was giving my evening classes on the internet. There's a lot more realization when there's other devotees hearing than doing my personal reading. So, Satam Prasanga, Mama Virya Samvaro, hearing about Krishna's heroic activities, Bhavanti Vritkarna, through the ear to the heart. Rasayana Kata, this is the same thing as Bhavoshato, it's medicinal. Rasayana Kata, Jajoshanadashu Apavarga Vartmani Shradha Ratir Bhakti Anukrameshati. Then one can progress very quickly from faith, Shradha, Ratir, taste, and then, of course, ultimately Krishna Prema. So, anyway, that's the introduction. So I wanted to speak today about two things. What we call the prequel to the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the 10th canto has its prequel in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because the 10th canto deals with, of course, Krishna's advent. And as we know from the Bhagavad Gita, what? Pritranaya Sadhanam Vanishaya Chadushkritam. Krishna comes to annihilate the miscreants and to protect the devotees, establish religious principles, and all those nice things. And so it is arranged by Krishna that all the demons come to the earth before his advent, so he has an excuse to advent himself. Because otherwise, if there weren't any demons around, then what would happen? Of course, so the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam describes how the demons came to the earth. And we know in the previous yuga, the Treta Yuga, the demons took birth in Kshatriya families. Now, in Kali Yuga, I'm not going to tell you where the demons take birth, because some of you may get offended, of course. May or may not get offended. But anyway, so it's not that every Kshatriya was a demon. I mean, there were actually many nice Kshatriyas. And just like in Kali Yuga, it's not that every Brahmin was a demon previously. There are many, many wonderful Brahmins. So here's the Purnima. Here's the prequel. Janmashtami prequel. Once upon a time, this is basically a story from the 8th canto. Once upon a time, there was this great sage, Durvasa. Durvasa means one who has a bad temper. And this Durvasa Muni, Haribol, good to see you. this Durvasa Muni thought he would honor Indra by giving him a garland. And he gave Indra his garland, but Indra thought nothing of it. He just threw the garland to his elephant. He said, here, elephant, you better wear this garland. This is just Durvasa. And the elephant, of course, just like crushed. The elephant didn't put the garland on because the elephant doesn't have hands. Just threw it. And it went under the elephant's feet. The elephant crushed the garland with his feet. And Durvasa got so angry, because he's easily angered and easily pleased, just like Lord Shiva. He's an expansion of Lord Shiva. Ashutosh. He got so angry that he cursed the demigods. And because he cursed the demigods, they started to lose when they were fighting against the demons. And of course, this shows you the results of offending a great devotee. So, the demigods were losing. So therefore, what do they do when they're losing? They go to Lord Brahma, who is situated on Mount Sumeru. And Lord Brahma takes them to Shvetadvipa. I mean, it's the white island, actually. And they're instructed, you should make a truce with the demons because you're not going to be able to defeat them because you offended a great personality. If one offends a great personality, one loses all their opulence. Actually, even if one offends a lady, one loses all their opulence. It's interesting, isn't it? You lose everything if you offend a lady, so you ladies, please forgive me for any offenses I may have committed. So, anyway, so they all, so Lord Vishnu advises them, make a deal, churn the milk ocean and use Mount Mandara as the churning rod and use Vasuki as the rope to hold the churning rod. And he said to the demigods, but don't be greedy for the fruits of what's going to come out of the ocean. Just be in the mode of goodness. Stay in the mode of goodness, Prabhus. So then Indra, he goes to his enemy, who was Bali Maharaj at that time, the king of the demons. They make a agreement and a truce. Okay, this is a win-win, as they say. We'll both do it, and we can share the nectar that's going to come out, the Amrit. So what happens is that Mount Mandara is too heavy, so Lord Vishnu has to come out and transport it because it was crushing all the demigods and the demons. And he uses Garuda at the same time. And actually the demons and demigods were so crushed that they had to be brought back to life after they were crushed. And Lord Vishnu does that. And Garuda leaves because Vasuki is used the churning rod, and Vasuki is prasadam for Garuda. So Vasuki comes, and there's some discussion as to, who will hold the head of Vasuki and who will hold the tail. And the demons were complaining, we don't want to hold the tail. Tail's very inauspicious. So the demigods say, all right, you got the head. And the head has all this poison, poisonous fumes, bad breath. And so they start to churn, and the mountains start sinking. And then the tortoise incarnation has to come. And the tortoise incarnation is 800,000 miles wide. Not just a tiny little tortoise. And so the demons and the demigods, they're churning. And of course, also, Lord Vishnu appears on the top just to hold, for the pivot. And so the demons are churning from the mode of ignorance. You get very much enthusiasm when there's liquor. So and the demigods are churning from the mode of goodness. And so anyway, that, let's see. Oh, yes. So also the demigods and the demons get really tired. So Lord Vishnu comes in another form. So he's in the tortoise incarnation. He's on top of the hill, and he's also helping the churn at the same time. So in 3 different places. So eventually this hala hala poison is produced. Lord Shiva comes out to save the whole universe, drinks the poison, and he becomes known as the blue-throated one. Actually, his wife addresses him like that, my dear blue-throated one. Then the Surabhi cow comes out, taken by the Brahmanas. Uchayashrava comes out. Airavata, the elephant, is taken by Indra. 8 elephants come out. The Kostubhamani and the Padma Garmani, and they're taken by Vishnu. The Apsaras come out, dancing girls. Pretty interesting journey, isn't it? Lakshmi comes out with a garland, and everyone wants to marry her, but she goes right to Lord Vishnu and marries him. Varuni comes out. That's taken by the demons. And eventually Dhanvantari, the medical incarnation of the Lord, comes out, and he comes out with the nectar, and the demons steal it. Such an interesting story. And the demigods get very worried. What happens when the demigods get worried? They take shelter of Vishnu. So the demons are necessary to keep the demigods on their toes. Because if there weren't demons, the demigods would just be completely in the sense gratification. Because things are so nice there. It's described that mangoes are bigger than this building, no skin, no pit, mango, rivers of mango juice, nobody smells bad there, no diseases there, no crying babies there. So, anyway, demigods take shelter of Lord Vishnu. So what happened is that Krishna agrees to cause problems for the demons. And he makes his appearance look like a very attractive lady, Mohini Murti. And the demons become very much bewildered. Wow, look at her. And they forget about all the, drinking the amrits and having a long life. It's very interesting, because when people become very materially attached, they actually forget about their real self-interest. Isn't it? Natevatu Swartagatim Vishnu. Durashaya Yebahirarta Manina Andar Yatandar Upaniyamana Stage Vishu Tantra Muradamni. But they become misled. The blind leading the blind. Of course, Mohini Murti is not blind, but she's leading blind people. So, anyway, they basically, she says, they say actually to her, can you divide it up? We trust you. And she says, you can't trust me. And they say, you're so beautiful. You're trustworthy. This is bewilderment. That when one becomes bewildered by lust, then one's judgment is just thrown out the window. Can you imagine that? Just because someone's beautiful or handsome, you trust them? Not a good idea. So, anyway, what happens is that Mohini Murti gives the demigods all the nectar, but some of the demons, like Rahu and Ketu, sort of sneak in, and Rahu gets his head cut off because the demigods notice what's happening, and Mohini Murti has in her back pocket Udasura Sudarshana. She doesn't give up all the symbols of Vishnu, and cuts off Rahu's head, and Rahu just keeps floating there, just a head in the sky. And then the demons get really upset at that point. And then there's Bali, Kalanemi, who later becomes Kamsa, actually, and Viprachiti, who later on becomes Jarasandha. So you see these all-star demons. It's like what do they call the football game when it's, anyway, all-star? I thought that's baseball. No, football has something else. Like they had some game, I was coming here, and it's going to be fought at Durham or something like that, Duke. So Bali starts using the demon tricks, and the demons are winning. And so then the demigods call for Vishnu again. You see how important it is to have nice demons? because the demigods, they keep going, Vishnu, 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 come. And Vishnu comes, and Kalanemi attacks him with a trident. Vishnu kills with the same trident. And so there's other demons, Mali, Sumali, Malyavan. You may remember him from the Ramayana. They killed with a disc of Vishnu. Bali is knocked unconscious. Narada goes to the demons and says, look, you got to save the day. The demigods are winning. Narada's quite an interesting character. And then the demons attack and force. Indra is surrounded. Doesn't know how to kill a particular demon. One demon's name is Namuchi. I guess he's not Muchi or whatever. Namuchi is his name. This is all the Bhagavatam story. We're not making these stories up. But this is a summary of the 8th canto, part of the 8th canto. And they're just feeling, how can I kill this demon? All my weapons are not working. Then he hears a voice from the sky that it cannot be killed with a dry or wet weapon. So then they come up with a foam weapon. And he's killed with a foam weapon. Almost all the demons are dead. Brahma tells Narada to tell Indra to stop killing demons. You need them around. And then, so Bali is brought back to life by Shukracharya, has this Mitru Sanjeevani. And Bali surrenders to Shukracharya, attacks Indra again, and takes over heaven because he has the mercy of his Guru Maharaj, Shukracharya. So even if you have a demon, Guru Maharaj, if you worship him, you'll get power. It's nice, isn't it? So anyway, so they take over heaven, and Brahaspati, this is such an interesting story. Brahaspati tells Indra and the demigods to hide. So because the demons are more powerful, because, the demigods have actually offended their spiritual masters. So Bali, he does 100 Ashwamedha sacrifices as the king of heaven. So then call for the ladies. Aditi, the mother of Indra, gets very upset. My son, he lost his kingdom. It takes a lady to save the day in this particular case. So Aditi wakes up Kashyapa from meditation, and she says, my son, he's lost his kingdom. You got to do something. My dear, Pati Dev, husband. And he says, just be detached. Why are you so attached to your children? But she's so determined. So he says, worship Vishnu. And so she does this payovrata for 12 days. That means just drinking milk and chanting different mantras. On the 13th day, there's an abhishek, and Krishna appears and agrees to be her son. Then Krishna is in the womb of Aditi, and he takes birth as, does anyone know who? Vamanadev. And then he goes to Bali's sacrifice. Bali washes his feet, offers him benediction. As we know, Lord Vamanadev is very tricky. He takes 3 paces. He takes over the whole earth planet, the sky, and there's no third pace. And so then they arrest Bali Maharaj. And here, again, a lady saves the day. See? Ladies are important. So Vindhya Mali, the wife of Bali Maharaj, prays to Vishnu. Save my husband! And so, of course, she also has the help of Prahlad Maharaj, who is the grandfather of Bali Maharaj. And so Lord Vishnu sends Bali Maharaj down to Sutala. So Diti, so here's another lady involved. She's very upset that all this is happening in her family, and then the demigods are becoming more powerful, because Diti is the head of the mother of all the daityas, or demons. So she does a payovrata. Kashyapa actually is very confused. he has these two wives. One is the mother of the demons, the other one is the mother of the demigods. Can you imagine? That's why polygamy is prohibited. Can you imagine that? What is home life like? Can you imagine? Which wife am I going to see today? So she does Payavrata at the advice of Kashyapa that she's going to have a kid who's going to kill Indra. So Indra hears about this, so he begins to serve his aunt. And he serves her nicely, looking for her to make a mistake in the whole performance of her Payavrata. And so she eventually, goes to sleep when she's not supposed to go to sleep. And so he makes himself very, very, very small. And he enters into Diti's womb and takes his thunderbolt out and cuts the embryo into 7 pieces. Original abortionist. But these 7 pieces, they remain as people, individuals. And so they're crying in the womb. And Indra's there in the womb. And so he gets, oh my God, what am I going to do about this? So he cuts each of them into 7 pieces. So you get 7 times 7, 49. And eventually, Diti gives birth, she gives birth to the 49 Maruts as well as Indra, 50 kids. So because she's become purified, she actually doesn't get angry at Indra anymore. So anyway, the demigods regain their kingdom, and therefore the demons don't know what to do, and so they take birth. Practically, they're all dead. But it's interesting, when the demons die, they sort of have the ability to decide what their next births are going to be, isn't it? I mean, it's really interesting. So they somehow are they making a plan in the netherworlds or something like that. It's not described specifically what's going on, but they talk about how the earth is ideal. Nobody's going to find us here. Sometimes it's described as they try to make the earth a Death Star. So they come down to the earth planet. They have all sorts of different ways to try to escape. There was one time the demons in the past, this is way before this, they wanted to escape into the ocean, and they thought the demigods, especially Agni, is not going to be able to do anything about them because they're under the ocean. So they sort of take birth under the ocean. I'm not sure as fish or something like that. But they're in the ocean, and the demigods can't approach because Agni just will get extinguished. So then the demigods, they call for Agastya Muni, and Agastya Muni, they say, can you drink the whole ocean up? So he drinks the whole ocean up. Nice, isn't it? And then the demigods are able to attack the demons, and then he say, all right, let it out. And he burps. And he digests the whole ocean. I mean, these are incredible stories. They're so incredible, but anything's possible. Krishna could do anything, and he makes life interesting. Why should Krishna do things in such a dull way, just like ordinary fighting on the earth planet, like you have nowadays with drones and everything like that? It's just quite boring. So Krishna is the expert dramatist. And then, few more details. We got 5 more minutes. Okay, so following up, then we find the earth is overburdened with demons. The beginning of Krishna book, beginning of 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The earth is overburdened with all these demons who have taken birth in Kshatriya families. Like Kamsa, Kalanemi, and Viprachiti, Jarasandha. I mean, the whole earth, all these demoniac kings. So, therefore, in the Bhagavatam, it describes the 10th canto. All the demigods go with Lord Brahma to the milk ocean, and they recite this prayer called the Purusha Shukta prayer. And this Purusha Shukta prayer is glorification of the Lord, who is actually all-pervading and the Lord of the universe. And And then Lord Brahma, he gets a message. And that message says they should all take birth on the Earth planet, and also they should appear with Ananta and Yogamaya. Okay, so that's how the demigods, and they're actually told to appear before, many of them are told to appear before Krishna appears on this Earth planet. So then, fast forward, just a little bit of the story. Kamsa is driving Devaki and Vasudeva from the marriage, and then there's another voice from the air stating that the eighth child of this couple is going to kill you. And so Kamsa gets ready to kill Devaki, and Devaki is all, whoops, is it time? No, we got 5 more minutes. Devaki is in anxiety, Vasudeva is in anxiety. He tries to stop Kamsa, and then eventually he tries to preach to him. But that doesn't work. So then he guarantees that the 8th son will be actually turned over to Kamsa, and Kamsa can kill him. So Kamsa is very, very, very happy with this. He says, okay, let's make a deal. And so just to keep his promise, Vasudeva brings each child. At this point, they're actually not in prison. He brings each child before Kamsa. Kamsa says, no problem. The first child is not going to be the one to kill me. Just take him back. Let's be a little bit compassionate with you. But Narada goes to Kamsa and tells Kamsa, what? You don't know how these guys are counting. There's also, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can't count. The first child could be the 8th, or any of the children could be the 8th. You never know. They're very tricky. So why is Narada doing this? I mean, you find, like, even previously we found Narada going to the demons, riling up the demons. And in this particular case, Narada is riling up Kamsa, who is actually Kalanemi, he actually knows his past birth. He knows he's been killed by Vishnu in the past. So these demons, they're just not like ordinary people reincarnating on the earth like us. I mean, I don't know who I was in the last life, whether Lord Vishnu killed me or I was killed by Arjuna in the battle, etc. I don't know. But these demons actually are fully aware. And they have this. Why does Krishna give them that full awareness? So they have this animosity. You understand? Krishna wants to rile them up and get them full of animosity so that there'll be a chivalrous fight, Mamavirya Samvada. Because otherwise, what's interesting if the demon just says, oh, you're Lord Vishnu. I surrender to you. Please accept my humble obeisances, Vishnu Prabhu. No. So Narada Muni also plays a part in this. He wants to speed up the appearance of the Lord. He wants to agitate the demons. He wants to see some, really interesting, dramatic performances. So he tells Kamsa, he reminds Kamsa, he says, actually, remember, you're Kalanemi, and you were killed by Vishnu several times. So now's the time to get even with him. So, anyway, it's described that the children that were killed by Kamsa, there were actually 6 children who were killed. They were originally sons of Marichi, the sage Marichi, not the Marichi in the Ramayana. And they laughed at Lord Brahma because Lord Brahma, we don't like to tell this story, especially if you're a follower of Madhvacharya, you don't like to tell the story, but Lord Brahma chased after his daughter Vak when she appeared. And because they committed that offense, they were cursed, and they became the 6 sons of Hiranyakashipu. Was it Hiranyakashipu? Yeah. Actually, they were the grandsons, actually. There were 6 sons of Kalanemi eventually, and they've been cursed to be killed by Kalanemi. So actually, Hiranyakashipu felt offended, so he cursed them to be killed by their father. Yeah, here's the whole story. Formerly an Asura named Kalanemi had 6 sons named Hamsa, Suvikrama, Krata, Damana, Ripupurmardana, and Krota Hanta. They were known as the Shadgarbhas, the 6 Garbhas, and they were all equally powerful and expert in military affairs. These Shadgarbhas gave up the association of Hiranyakashipu, their grandfather, and went to undergo great austerities to satisfy Lord Brahma, who, upon being satisfied, agreed to give them whatever benediction they might desire. When asked by Lord Brahma to state what they wanted, the Shadgarbhas replied, "Dear Lord Brahma, if you want to give us a benediction, give us the blessing that we will not be killed by any demigod, Maharoga, Yaksha, Gandharvapati, Siddha, Charana, or human being, nor by the great sages who are perfect in their penances and austerities." Brahma understood their purpose and fulfilled their desire, but when Hiranyakashipu came to know of these events, in other words, they didn't ask for immortality or immunity from demons. But because they were demons, they thought, demons are not going to kill us. When Hiranyakashipu came to know of these events, he was very angry at his grandsons. "You have given up my association and have gone to worship Lord Brahma," he said, "and therefore I no longer have any affection for you. You have tried to save yourselves from the hands of the demigods, but I curse you in this way. Your father will take birth as Kamsa and kill all of you," because he even knew what the future birth was going to be. Interesting. "Because you will take birth as the sons of Devaki." Because of this curse, the grandsons of Hiranyakashipu had to take birth from the womb of Devaki and be killed by Kamsa, although he was previously their father. This description is mentioned in the Harivamsa. Incidentally, because we're going to have to greet the deities in 1 minute. Incidentally, they were later purified when they were brought back by Krishna, and they drank the breast milk of Devaki. And so the breast milk of Devaki was actually Mahaprasadam, because it was Krishna's remnants. So this is actually, the story is in the Harivamsa, Vishnu Parva, 2nd chapter. So there's actually more information in the 10 more minutes. What? I can, or are you ready to greet the deities now? I can't. Oh, they're still eating. Krishna's eating. Okay. Okay, so anyway, there's some description. Okay, so fast forward, there's some description of these different Shadgarbhas. So the 7th son of Devaki was transferred, was considered to be a miscarriage, and it was transferred to the womb of Rohini. And that, of course, is Ananta. Although there's another description given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. That description is that Balaram was originally in the womb of Rohini, and his expansion of Ananta was actually transferred to the womb, was actually transferred from the womb of Devaki to Rohini. And of course, the same thing with Krishna, that Krishna actually is the son of Yashodamai, Nandanandana, the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Vasudeva Krishna, that's Vasudev's son, was the expansion of Krishna and Vrindavan. And when Vasudeva brought Vasudeva Krishna to Vrindavan, that expansion entered into Brajendra Nandana, Krishna in Vrindavan, because Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So how could Krishna actually take birth outside of Vrindavan, right? It's impossible, because Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So it's not that you have the Brajendra Nandana who is brought from Mathura to Vrindavan. It's actually the Vasudeva Krishna, expansion of Krishna, because Brajendra Nandana is not outside of Vrindavan. I hope you all understand that esoteric point. So anyway, so the demigods then, after Ananta, Balaram was born, demigods prayed to Krishna, who was in the womb of Devaki, and Krishna actually was transferred from the mind and the